Okay, my name is Dick Logan. I'm the golf coordinator for Northside ISD, and what we've done is if you go to our website, you'll notice that we have some instructional videos, and this is another one of those instructional videos. And what our intention here is to walk through what a golfer is going to experience when they first arrive at a tee at a golf tournament. All right, so when you arrive at a tee at a golf tournament, you should show up first of all with a golf ball and a scorecard. And if it doesn't have your name on it, it'll normally have it'll say O'Connor number 2, or it'll say Warren number 2, or it'll say, if you're from middle school, it'll say Rudder number 2, or it'll say Garcia number 2, something like that. And that tells you what position on the team you are and what school you're from. But it's still important that you write your first name and your last name on the scorecard, so when we get done, we know who played that round, so we can post the score on the right place on the score sheet. Okay? All right. And when you first arrive at the tee, you're going to introduce yourself to the other players, and then you're going to exchange scorecards. The basic rule there is that each person has to keep somebody else's scorecard, because if you keep your own scorecard, who knows? Maybe, we don't want to assume anybody's going to cheat, but I mean, it's possible. So to make sure that doesn't happen, we always have a different person, what we call a test, a score. So you can't keep your own scorecard, you have to give it to somebody else in your group. They are then responsible to make sure your score is correct. When you finish one hole, you don't all stand on the tee, on the green there, and compare scores on the green, because there's a group behind you wanting to hit into the hole. So what you do is you go to the next tee. If you're playing hole number 1, you'll go to number 2 tee, and on number 2 tee, you'll exchange scores, and each person will know who got what. Once you're all in agreement, you put the scorecards away, you then play the next hole. At some point, you will be told by your golf coach what tee you're going to tee off from. Now, if you're playing in a tournament like regionals or district, or if your team gets really good and they were to qualify for the state tournament, we do what's called a progressive start. In other words, you'll be teeing off on either hole number 1, or like this one, hole number 10. And everyone tees off in tee time. So like if I'm teeing off at 8 o'clock, I'll tee off at 8 o'clock on number 10. And then I'll play the back 9 first, and then I'll move to the front 9, and I'll play the front 9, and then I'll turn in my score when I'm finished. Okay, that's my system. Now, what if I'm teeing off on hole number 1? Then I'll just play hole number 1 through hole number 9, move right to number 10, play number 10 through number 18. That's what we call a progressive start. And those are what we do, that's what we do on usually our district tournaments, our regional tournaments, etc. More often than not, you're going to play in invitational tournaments. In all of our middle school tournaments, we play what's called a shotgun start. And the word shotgun start actually began because in some adult tournaments, they'd actually get everybody out on the golf course, and once they knew everybody was in the right place, they'd fire a shotgun, or they'd sound off a siren or something like that. Pretty much anymore, we don't do that anymore. What we do is we just tell everybody, okay, I'm teeing off on hole number 1. And normally the tee sheet will say 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B. What that means is, if you're 1A, you're going to tee off on number 1 in the first group. 1B means you're going to tee off on number 1 in the second group. If on the tee sheet it says you're 16A, then you and your coach are going to need to go out to hole number 16. You'll be the first group on hole number 16, and there'll be probably 1 or 2 other players that'll join you from other teams on hole number 16. And there'll be some guys that are teeing off A, and there'll be some guys that are teeing off B, and all of the group that are A will be a group, and all the groups that are B will be a group as well. Okay. When you arrive at the tee, as I've already talked about, you're going to have your scorecard, and you're all going to have a golf ball. And what I'm demonstrating here is there are a variety of different kinds of golf balls. I mean, Nike makes a golf ball. There's a bunch of different kinds of golf balls, okay? TaylorMade is a common golf ball. Titleist is a real common golf ball. Callaway is a real common golf ball. And the main thing these numbers are for is the number 1, number 2, number 4 is to identify which ball's which. So like if 3 of us were playing Callaway, I might have a 1, you might have a 2, and somebody else have a 4. That way we'd know when we get out in the fairway who's playing what golf ball. Okay, but it's always a good idea to also have a Sharpie and use that Sharpie to make some kind of mark. I make the same mark on every golf ball I use. I always take a purple mark or black mark or blue mark, and I'll draw a circle around the number. And I draw a circle around both sides, and that way, if I was to play an adjacent fairway to somebody else, even if this is my group, and we've got a Callaway and a TaylorMade and a Titleist, we're obviously never going to get our balls mixed up because we know who's playing what. But let's say I'm in an adjacent fairway to somebody playing the other way. I'm number 1 and he's number 2, and he's got a Titleist 2 also. That circle is going to help us know which ball's mine and which ball's his. Because under the rules of golf, if we have 2 Titleist 2s that are identical, sitting side by side, and we can't tell for sure whose is whose, we both have to play lost ball, which means we have to go back and hit it from where we started. We don't want to do that. So it's always a good idea to put a Sharpie mark. So buy yourself a Sharpie. A lot of coaches will give you a Sharpie. And if they don't, buy yourself one. It's like $1, something like that. And then just keep it in your golf bag. If you like a particular color, you know, if you're from Brandeis, you can get a blue or an orange. If you're from Warren, you can get a purple. Doesn't matter. You can use black or blue or green, whatever. But the main thing is make a Sharpie mark. It helps you find your particular golf